Does tiger parenting work, or is it an outdated practice? Would your kids appreciate what you're doing? In this case, we will explore the extreme result that had happened to a Canadian family. Hi guys, welcome back to Caesar Talks. In today's episode, we will be exploring the Pan family. The Pan family, in most accounts, would be considered as a regular Canadian family with a Canadian dream. The family consisted of the husband Hui Han Pan and the wife Big Ha Pan. Both Hui Han and Big Ha were born in Vietnam and migrated to Canada as political refugees in 1979. They settled in Toronto and lived in Scarborough district. Along the way came Jennifer, the first child, in 1986, and in 1989, Big had another child, Felix. The Pan family came from a Chinese-Vietnamese cultural background, and as such, they value hard work and academic excellence from their kids. Their frugal lifestyle and hard work had afforded them a decent life in Toronto suburbia, a nice big house, nice cars, and ample savings in their bank accounts. As such, education is at the forefront in their children's life to-do list. They believe excellent grades would give their children an even better future, for such is the dream of many Asian migrant families. The Pans required their kids to excel at everything that they were doing. Jennifer was made to take piano lessons at the age of 4, as well as figure skating classes, where she trained most days during the week. She had hopes of becoming an Olympic figure skating champion until she tore a ligament in her knee. Jennifer attended Mary Ward Catholic Secondary School, where she played the flute in the school band. According to a high school friend, Han was seen as the classic tiger dad, and Big was his reluctant accomplice. The Pans picked Jennifer up when classes ended each day and monitored her extracurricular activities very closely. They never permitted her to date boys while attending high school or to attend high school dances out of fear that these activities would distract her from her academic commitments. Jennifer was not permitted to attend any parties. Even at the age of 22, she had never gone to a club, been drunk, visited a friend's cottage, or gone on vacation without her family. Jennifer and her friends reportedly regarded this upbringing as restrictive and greatly oppressive. Everything seems to have gone well for Jennifer. She graduated well from high school and she got a scholarship, and this made her parents happy. And similarly, her brother was accepted to a well-known mechanical engineering school. Han and Big were convinced that the children's achievements were due to their strict tiger parenting. But the truth was never as sweet as it seems. Jennifer has failed her university admission. The truth is, her grades during her high school years were middling at best. Her grade was not all straight A's, as her parents knew it. She had faked her report cards multiple times, and when she failed calculus in her final year, Ryerson University rescinded her early admission. As she could not bear to be perceived as a failure, she began to lie to those she knew, including her parents, and pretended she was attending university. Instead, she sat in cafes, taught as a piano instructor, and worked in a restaurant to earn money. To maintain the charade, Jennifer told her parents she had won scholarships to the pharmacology departments of the University of Toronto. She went to the extent of purchasing second-hand textbooks and watching videos related to pharmacology to create notebooks full of purported class notes that she could show her parents. Jennifer also requested permission from her parents to stay near the campus with a friend Topaz throughout the week. The truth was, she was staying with her boyfriend, Daniel Wong, whom she had met in high school. He was an active marijuana dealer and perhaps in the eyes of her parents, a bad influence on their perfect daughter. Then a time came. Jennifer's years had passed and it was technically time for her to graduate college. To keep up with her lies, she and Daniel hired a man to create a fake graduation transcript for her. And she told her parents that she had only received one seat for relatives at the graduation ceremony. So she had just simply gave the seat to one of her friends instead, rather than have her parents fight for the spot. After graduating, she told her parents that she got a job at a children's hospital in Toronto, and times passed before her parents finally got suspicious of their daughter's supposed farmer job. She would never come back home with scrub uniforms or have any hospital ID with her. One day, her dad had enough. He offered to take her to work and noted her frantic behavior when he suggested it. He and his wife dropped her off at the hospital, and Jennifer took off towards the doors as soon as the car stopped, hiding when her mom came in to check what she was doing. It was all just too suspicious. They knew something was up, and Jennifer had to come clean. Jennifer came clean to her parents about her not attending the pharmacology department, and even worse was the fact she didn't even finish high school. She told them how she had a boyfriend, Daniel, and how she would spend her time at his place multiple times. All hell broke loose. Han was furious and told her to leave the house. Big, her mother, tried to calm things down and told her husband to give Jennifer another chance to redeem herself. Jennifer was confined to their parents' house and was not allowed to go out other than to her job giving piano lessons. And no more cell phones, and she was told to break it off with Daniel. Progress was made, and she finally had her high school diploma and was told to apply for college. But unbeknownst to her parents, she did not end things with Daniel. But times went by, and in the end, it was Daniel who tried to end their relationship. He was fed up with her strict parents, how she was still afraid of her parents even though she was 24 years old, how she was still living with her parents, and she needed to sneak out every time they were hanging out. Truthfully, it was like dating a high schooler. She found another girl soon enough, Christine. Jennifer was not happy about this, and in the end, she concocted a lie to end her ex's new muse. One day, she called him in hysterics, sobbing and distraught. She told him that a couple of days earlier, there had been a knock on her door. She said when she had opened it, a group of men had rushed into her house, gang raping her. She also told Daniel she had just received a package in the mail containing several bullets. She said she knew Christine had set it all up. Despite it being false, Daniel believed her and broke up with Christine, running back to Jennifer. It was spring 2010, and at this time that she got in contact with Andrew. Andrew was an old elementary friend, the one friend that her mom and dad had loved. Her parents allowed her to see him at certain times, and so they started to hang out, catching up and reminisce. One night, Andrew jokingly told her how he wanted to kill his dad sometimes, that he just couldn't stand him. A joke, but it set the wheel turning in Jennifer's mind. She got in touch with one of Andrew's friends, Ricardo, and paid him $1,500 to kill her dad in the parking lot of his work. The man took the money and ran, never committing the murder and never contacting her again. But Jennifer was persistent about the idea and had talks with Daniel. They came up with a plan to hire a professional hitman for $10,000 to kill her parents, how she would end up with a $500,000 inheritance, and how they could finally move in together. Daniel finally connected Jennifer with Lenford Roy Homeboy Crawford, along with his other two friends, Eric Sean Sniper Carty and David Milvaganam. Jennifer discussed the idea with 3 men and decided to do the robbery gone wrong act on 8th of November 2010. On the evening of November 8, all seemed normal. Jennifer had dinner with both of their parents, whilst the brother was out of the house that night. After dinner, Han went upstairs to rest, while Big was in front of the TV. Jennifer said goodnight to her mom and unlocked the front door. She went into her room and flicked the light in her room on and off, signaling the men outside there was go time. The 3 men came into her house with loaded guns, tied her parents up downstairs, and demanded money. Jennifer pranced around the house, collecting the money and chatting with the robbers, while her parents watched in horror and fright. The men took her parents down into the basement, shooting the dad once in the shoulder and once in the head, and the mom 3 times in the head. The mom died instantly. They then brought Jennifer upstairs and tied her hands and left out the front door the way they had come. As Jennifer was wriggling her phones out of her pocket to call 911, she then heard a moan and froze. It was her dad, in pain and very much alive, dragging himself up to the basement stair. Jennifer told his father that she was calling the cops and not to worry, but the damage was already done. She had seen her manner with the men and didn't trust her. He ran across the street to the neighbors and stayed there until he fell into a 3-day coma. The police came and initially treated the case as any other robbery case. Jennifer was interviewed as a witness, and she was informing the police her version of the case. However, on November 12, 2010, Han, the father, woke up from his coma, and he recounted his version of the story to the police, and it was very much different from her daughter's. Questions began popping up in Jennifer's version of the robbery case. If this was indeed a robbery, why not take the Lexus with the keys dangling near the front door? Why were there no break-in marks? Why there were no bags to hold their goods in? And ultimately, why did they shoot 2 of the witnesses but leave 1 unharmed? It did not make any sense to the investigators. The police immediately detained Jennifer and took her for questioning. There, the repressed young woman confessed the whole plan, although she was not able to admit that she wanted to kill her parents. She also confessed that she had hired the hitman, but not to murder her parents, but to stage her own death. She claimed that she was depressed and tired of living, and that the murderers made a mistake. From that moment, the authorities ordered her arrest. Soon after, her accomplices too were caught by the police. Time passed, and finally on March 19, 2014, her trial began in Newmarket, and it continued for 10 months. All of them pleaded not guilty to the charges for first-degree murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to murder. The police had several pieces of evidence, including a comprehensive tracking of mobile device movements and text message traffic, including more than 100 messages sent between Jennifer and Daniel in the 6 hours before the killing. In the end, Jennifer, Daniel, Milvaganam, and Crawford were convicted on December 13, 2014, and each received a life sentence with no chance of parole for 25 years. As for her another accomplice, Carty, had his case declared as a mistrial and had a separate trial in December 2015. However, Carty decided to plead guilty to conspiring to commit murder. He received 18 years sentence with parole after 9 years, but tragically he was stabbed to death in 2018 while serving his sentence. And as you would have guessed, the story sent shockwaves across Canada and the Asian diaspora. The debate between the well-being of children's mental health and the benefit of strict tiger parenting was heating up in the aftermath of the case. As for Han and Felix, they have decided to ask the court to ban Jennifer to ever see them again. They ended their familial ties with her. Her crimes were something that they could never just let go. B, the mother, passed away. Han, the father, ends up disabled and couldn't go back to work. Han even decided to sell the house, but no one would buy it. In the end, he has to live with some other relatives. As for Felix, he decided to move away from the city, trying to distance himself from the tragedy. That's it for today's story, guys. What do you think about the case? Do you believe in strict parenting? That this was just a fluke, that no children could have done what Jennifer did to her parents? Or do you believe children should be able to live their lives without strict schedules? Let me know what you think. Write some comments and come back for another episode next week, only at Caesar Talks. Cheers!